You are watching Travel World Online.
Friends, travel and hospitality industry is going through the worst phase of this century. Everyone is stressed. Today, we have invited Mr. Sunil Kumar, President UFTAA and immediate Past President TAI, to talk about way forward. Over to you, Sunilji.
Hello, my dear friends. I am so delighted to be associated with this invite from Travel World TV Online, asking me to do a presentation on a subject that is the most needed educational initiative that one looks forward to. We've titled this subject as Awakening from Adversity. There has been an adversity that has challenged the industry of travel and tourism in a very big way. Of course, the manner in which it has challenged all our lives, threatened this world, and putting governments to most rigorous situations is even worse. And at this point of time, a lot of our colleagues who are stakeholders in travel and tourism industry are very keen to identify the way forward. I repeat the subject, awakening from adversity. We need to get out of this challenge that is confronted us. We need to disrupt this disruption. We need to wake up to new ideas. I have great pleasure introducing to you at this point of time UFTAA, the United Federation of Travel Agents Associations, which is a very senior and established global federation of travel agents associations from across the world. And for a lot of my colleagues who will be logging on now as well as in the next few repeats that Travel World TV Online will be involved with, must also be aware of the updates that we at UFTAA have come to learn from our intense discussions with IATA, with airlines, and with our association leaders from across the world. Let me start off with a Dale Carnegie quote, an outstanding statement he had made, which is so relevant to all of us. Most of the important things in the world have been accomplished by people who have kept on trying when there seemed to be no hope at all. There are a lot of situations in the world where people found the door closed, but then it was their determination, their perseverance, that they managed to identify solutions to big problems, problems possibly bigger than coronavirus. My attempt today is not to present before you the details of coronavirus, its why and how. A lot of people have talked about it. But my focus to all of us is to address the big question: do we get disturbed or do we disrupt the disruption? Meaning, do we find ways to overcome this disruption that has been caused? I recall my favorite of the authors, Tony Robbins, as is called, Anthony Robbins. He had published a bestseller titled Awaken the Giant Within. I happened to read it a couple of decades before. And he said it so well. In life, you need either inspiration or desperation. Focus on where you want to go, not on what you fear. Well, we have two options, my dear friend. Either be inspired by leaders whom we believe, who have success trails with them, who are capable of guiding us and motivating us, and get inspired from their talks. At the same time, carry within us a desperate feeling, no matter what, I shall overcome this challenge. The coronavirus pandemic has tremendous impact on the life. This has been caused in different ways. Let's quickly run through the challenges this virus has posed to us. It's an uncertainty unlocked at this point of time. It has challenged the lives of people, threatened the very existence. Sustainability of businesses is disrupted. At the same time, people have started looking at bigger opportunities, better ways to move forward. So it's going to unleash a lot of opportunities. Unlearning is unfastened or getting unfastened, meaning people have to unlearn. It's important that we throw the garbage out of our mind. It's been there for a long time, and it's not allowing us to think of new approaches. And that unlearning need not be connected with our past experiences and biases. It has to be situational, and therefore that unlearning is extremely important. Unlearning helps us to look at new things, better ways, so that we can sustain this challenge. Paradigms shifted. Paradigm is a map in our mind. These are maps that actually influence the way we think. They sometimes make us very rigid. And because of this rigidity the maps in our mind bring about, it becomes very difficult for some of us to change. Paradigm shift is a concept where we start thinking differently, acting differently, behaving differently. And I think the impact on life caused by coronavirus will also be the paradigms shifted. Thoughts re-engineered. Sitting at home for a long time, it's been locked down. Everyone's been thinking. And they're thinking of new ways, and I'm glad that our thoughts are getting re-engineered. Most important for me and for this industry, and my message to every one of us is that we must reboot our confidence. And that confidence rebooting will mean that we must have additional energy, extra focus to take our goal forward to defeat this challenge that is going to be confronting us even more for the next few weeks. Disasters cannot stop us. Now, this is a very clear statement I wish to make. There have been 3 big disasters of the last 100+ years. These disasters could not stop the world. Several generations proved successful, meaning they were able to contain these disasters. Let's run quickly through what these disasters have been. There have been 3 global major disruptions that have struck humanity from the years 1914 to 45. In 31 years, 3 global major disruptions. What happened? We lost countless number of people. There was a massive wealth loss. A lot of energies were lost. It actually created a big human divide. Let me start with the first one. World War I, known as the Great War. Started in 1914, continued till 1918. And it was a war where a lot of countries were involved with. Take a quick look at what the highlights of these wars are. Was. It's known as the Great War of 1914. 52 months of disruption. 52 months. We are just in our 4th or 5th month of this virus. It lasted for 4 years and 4 months. 28th July 1914 to 11th November 1918. 30 nations declared the war. Total number of deaths, 20.7 to 22 million. How many were wounded? Another 20 to 22 million. Almost 45 million people were impacted. It's called the deadliest conflict in human history. Another pandemic known as the flu pandemic, January 1918 to December 1920. It was 36 months of misery. What did this pandemic do to the world? It was the big disaster of 1918. Influenza pandemic or Spanish flu. It has nothing to do with an origin from Spain, so don't get carried away by Spanish flu. 36 months of misery because it was a very difficult time for people. January 1918 to December 1920. Corona caused jittery in about 4 months. Population of the world was then 1,500 million. That's 1.5 billion. And how many were infected? 500 million. 1/3 of the world was infected. Death toll, 17 to 50 million people. And there were quick deaths. At that time, there was no antibiotic in the world. Penicillin was invented much later. It was invented in 1928. And the flu pandemic continues to be possibly the most affecting disaster or disruption that the world had to go through. The agony is too much to express. And imagine, at those times, neither were the health conditions nor were our communication facilities as dynamic as it is today. Coming to a third disaster, World War II, known as the battlefield Europe. And what happened in World War II? Well, it happened 75 years ago, in 1939. How many years did it last? 6 years. 1939 to 1945. 6 years, my friends. 100 million people at war from more than 30 countries. 70 to 80 million deaths. Soviet lost 27 million. China 14 million. Germany 7 million. Poland 6 million. Japan 2.5 million. India, Yugoslavia 1 million each. France, Philippines, Romania, Italy, Hungary, UK, about 500,000 each. USA had lost 420,000 people. About 2,300 million was the world population then. Disasters, my dear friends, cannot stop us. Even a country like US, which turned out to be such a powerful economy in the world today, had to go through a very big depression. It's called the Great Depression in US, 1929 to 1939, 10 years. There have been other disasters as well, the tsunami and more, earthquakes. But then disruptions continued on humanity. What happened with this depression I'm talking about? It's considered as the world's worst economic downturn in industrialized world, 1929 to 1939. Started with stock market crash of October 29. Sent Wall Street into a panic. Wiped out millions of investors. For years, consumer spending and investment dropped. Aren't we expecting this from coronavirus? Consumer spending will drop. Investment will drop. Declines in industrial output. By 1933, it reached lowest point. Some 15 million Americans were unemployed and nearly half the country's banks had failed. My God, half the country's banks had failed. Now, what happened after these disruptions? Have these disruptions stopped our progress or have we moved forward? We are the most blessed among the generations is what I can say. Look at the world today. Despite all these wars, despite all the disruption, today we are a global village, quite open. There's so much of freedom for us to travel, to connect with other countries, to do business with other countries. Trade volumes have been large between global regions and nations. Alliances and partnerships are beyond all boundaries. You have a partner from US, a partner from India, a partner from Europe, a partner from some part of Asia, and you still are able to form an organization. Wow, what a great way to forge ahead. After the big human divide, the world cannot afford to imagine a world war today, my dear friends. Now, this has been the scenario before. And look at the success stories. What do the success stories tell us? Disruptions have provoked achievers to outperform. In other words, when there were disruptions or whenever there have been challenges, people haven't succumbed to them. People have been provoked to outperform. They did better than they had done before. Disruptions have actually driven discoveries. In fact, some discoveries happen because of disruption or needs not aptly met. So we are looking at a world where we now have a tomorrow after COVID-19. And what do we do in this tomorrow called post-COVID-19? Today's trends in the world, these trends that have come up since the last few decades has made this world very different from its previous. We are considered a re-engineered world. It is the people of the world who have achieved this colossal evolution, whatever we are today, in the area of technology, in the area of industrial growth, in the area of digitization, and much more. All of this has led to colossal evolution. And who's responsible? People like you and me. There are emerging economies, exponential impact by technology and digitization. A lot of times we read economic power is moving from the west to east, and two countries are singled out, China and India, whenever they talk about economies emerging. And we are talking about diminishing economic borders. World has become a village, as I mentioned before. Interdependence between nations drives it globenomics today. Look at what's happening in the world. Stock markets crash in China. Stock markets crash in Asia. Stock markets crash in US. Stock market crash in Europe. What happens to India? There is an immediate impact. If some part of the world is doing well, our stock market moves up. That is the extent of interdependence that is existing between nations today. One wonders how life was lived before. Today, without these inventions or innovations, we are blessed with and addicted to a connect with the world would be pointless. In other words, if these inventions or innovations were not there, then what's the point of being connected with the world in today's scenario? So we are truly blessed for all the connect that we are involved with. The world's talking about different versions of development, particularly related to technology and digitization and communication. It started off being called the Appleization. Then came in the era of Googleization. And then the Amazonization. You have the Uberization. And endless. It will continue for many more such situations where we will have to discover opportunities. I would now shift focus to our own industry, travel and tourism industry. The question is, what's our way forward? Is there one? Are we making plans? If there is a way forward, if we believe there is a way forward, then can we be quiet about it? Are we making plans? Are you and me busy about how our office should function after 3 months from now? What should be the level of our service? What should be the products that we should be involved with? What quality of staff enhancement can we achieve during these troubled times? Well, the future is a very strange subject. I'm glad that I was associated with a book that I had published a decade ago called Broadband Your Benchmarks. And in that, we had mentioned that the future is unfolding around us. Over the next decade, we will be able to see all sorts of differences that we can barely imagine today. I didn't stop there. Went on to say that the world will continue to evolve into new situations. Neither you nor anyone else can stop the evolution. My dear friends, we must be intelligent enough to perceive the change that can impact our working and contain our progress. Here are a few writings on the wall. And take it from me that these are conclusions arrived after intense discussion with my colleagues globally. Some airlines and more agencies will go bankrupt or will get merged. Once IATA suspends an airline, refunds will get challenged. Travel agents or customers may never get their money once an airline gets suspended. Airlines are suspended by IATA when they have no money to pay. And believe you me, my dear friends, airlines today are cash short. They are in most troubled times. Industry jobs, be it aviation, be it tourism, or be it our own organizations, they will all downsize. Post the opening, you will see a new change happening. When airlines start operating, they will operate at lower frequencies. You will not find most airlines operating at the frequencies at which they were operating pre-COVID-19. Airlines will want their aircrafts to have loads, so they can't operate with the same frequencies. The cost of fares will be higher. The quantum of travel, particularly international travel, will be low. It will be a more complex travel management for us, the service providers. And if we don't plan change, I am sorry to say this, if we don't plan change, our sustainability will definitely get affected. The World Travel and Tourism Council warns COVID-19 could cut 50 million jobs worldwide in the travel and tourism industry. Asia is expected to be the worst affected. Once the outbreak is over, it could take up to 10 months for the industry to recover. The tourism industry currently accounts for 10% of the global GDP. Now, look at the top 12 countries on tourism revenues. It's in billions of dollars. And look at the percentage of GDP tourism earns for these countries. In US, it's $210 billion. Business from tourism. 1.1% of GDP comes from here. In Spain, it's a big percentage. 5.2% GDP. France, $60 billion. 2.3% of its GDP. Thailand, much, much bigger, 57 billion, accounts for 12.6% GDP. UK, $51 billion, 2% GDP. Italy, US, 44 billion, 2.3% GDP. Australia, $41 billion, 3.2% GDP. Germany, 39 billion, 1.1% GDP. Japan, 34 billion, 0.7% GDP. That's because Japan has a lot of other sources of income. So their tourism income is only 0.7%. China, 32 billion, 0.27% GDP, meaning China too has a lot of other sources of income. Like India, 27 billion, 1.1% GDP. And Turkey, it's US 22 billion, 2.6% GDP. Now, what's more interesting is there are more than 28 countries whose GDP from tourism is over 10% to 59%. In this world, there are 28 countries whose GDP from tourism is over 10% and up to 59%. You must be wondering, who is this 59%? It's Maldives. And without tourism, more than half of Maldives' income is zero. So how would that country survive? UNWTO says we are facing an unprecedented global health emergency. Containment of pandemic is at most priority. Tourism sector is committed to support all measures taken to curb the outbreak. UNWTO is working closely with the World Health Organization to ensure a coordinated and effective response. UNWTO also says 96% of all global destinations have introduced travel restrictions. Research from UNWTO shows as soon as it's safe, we need to get the world moving again to unlock the unparalleled power of tourism in action. And I think we have we need to have very sharp focus on this. IATA estimates that around 8,500 passenger aircraft have been grounded. This accounts to 1/3 of the total passenger fleet around the world. Recovery process will be slower than 6 to 7 months time frame for the industry. When I referred about broadband your benchmarks, I must talk about this concept that I had then spoken of. I call this one of the most successful business strategies, which is called C2C. It's not consumer to consumer. What could it be? We mentioned that C2C is competition to creativity, trying to suggest that whenever there is competition, it's only then that creativity would get enhanced. How true it was those days. But looking at all the situation that's happening today, I want to redefine the C2C from a completely different perspective. And that is communication to commerce. In other words, if you are connected well, if your communication is far-reaching, you are active on social platforms, you increase your following, you are able to reach out to any destination to any extent, look at this communication as an important opportunity for commerce. And that's where the recent coalition of Facebook and Jio, where Facebook had bought 10% of stake in Jio. Well, on this occasion, it was just yesterday that Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, remarked, India is among the world's largest community on Facebook and WhatsApp. The largest community on Facebook and WhatsApp. And he says India has more than 60 million small businesses. So how can you stop communication turning into commerce? It's not possible at all. So social media and commerce, my dear friends, will go hand in hand. The world was never aware of a lockdown that had kept a couple of billions of people indoors, not going out of home from 1 week to 6 weeks and more. What's the way forward? Let's be very clear. What's the way forward? Here are some responses that I get from my colleague business leaders. I'm sometimes surprised that these thoughts are putting a lot of fear into many stakeholders. Well, I'm not saying that those who are cautious are wrong, but all I'm trying to say is there is also another side to this picture that we must be aware of. There are people who say, I don't have other sources of income. A large percentage of turnover I do is on credit. In other words, they give credit, they don't get money immediately. My retentions are very low and costs are very high. There's a lot of cost for salaries, for establishments, for rents, for electricity, for all that expenses that are on today. My customers are no more loyal, no matter how long the customer has been with us. Now, this is the statement of established leaders who say my customers are no more loyal. There are people who say I cannot get sustainable or better markups. In other words, people are looking at markups that can sustain them, but because of the competition, because of the limited retention, they're not able to get sustainable markups. My limited volumes don't get bonuses. Unfortunately, the industry practices are not in the right direction. So those who have volumes get bonuses. So what people are doing, they get consolidating. And it's the principals who are losing out, but the principals don't seem to understand. And this is one area that needs to be straightened out. Onlines offer more choices and better pricing is what another response is. And someone says, I do not specialize or have unique products. In other words, what I sell is what others sell. And I'm asking yourself, what you sell, is there something unique about what you sell? Or are others selling the same product? I think we need to have strategies. We need to have goals as we define our way forward. Let me start off saying that it is not the end. People are worried it's the end. No, it's not the end. It's a pit stop pause. What happens in a pit stop? There's refueling. There are mechanical adjustments, change of tires, recharge, and then strategize for the next run. What kind of strategy should I apply for me to perform better in the next run? Now, these are the things that happen in a pit stop. So it's a pause time, but a very important time. Similarly for us, I think COVID-19 has given us that pause. It's a forced pause onto us. It's time to revisit business model. It's time to review your products and services. It's time to assess financial health of your company. It's time to change approaches. Input new skills. Many of us don't have those skills. We are continuing with whatever skills made us successful in the past. We forget that what made us successful in the past won't make us successful in the future. We need to hone the existing resources, existing skills. And like I said in the beginning, we need to reboot confidence. My message is, let's be ready for these changes. For next 3 to 6 months, there is no travel or limited travel in some or most countries. Long distance and long period leisure versus short distance and short period leisure. Well, I think this is going to be a challenge. There will be more domestic and regional tourism. People may not be ready to undertake long distance travel. They may not want to be out of home for a long period of time. Earlier, 3 weeks leisure was good. 20 days leisure was good. 15 days leisure was good. People may now want, at least in the beginning, in the first initial period, they want to come back in a week's time. They want to come back in 4 days' time. Families with children and silver-haired tourists, the seniors, they will wait. They will not want to travel now. They will wait to be, assured that it's safer. Now, after that, what happens? There's a pricing option that comes up. People will start realizing safer, even if expensive, will get preferred. People will be ready to pay more for safer services. Pause. I said this recess is temporary. Limited travel only for some time. Volumes will get back and grow. World Tourism Organization's growth projection, yes, they will be achieved. They talked about 2050. My God, they said there's going to be a doubling of every tourism activity in this world. It'll happen. There'll be delays, that's all, but it'll happen. Globalism will be faster on recovery this time because we are equipped with so much of resource, so much of technology, so much of partnership, so much of knowledgeable citizens. Our recovery will be faster. Once COVID ends, our recovery will be faster. We are quick learners. There will be changes in customer approaches too. Customer approaches, what would be the changes? Right now, there's a fear gripping them. They may now depend on you. Now, this is a very important point. They may depend on you more than before. What happened? 15 years ago, they were depending on you. Last year, you were depending on them because they had to make a lot of decisions. So in most cases, the passengers were smarter than the travel agents. But today, you're ahead of them. For them, they have 101 challenges to focus on. But for you, you have your business to focus on. So you will be ahead in terms of knowledge. So they may depend on you more than before. Distant customers, a good opportunity. The reason I say this is don't ignore the fact that a customer can be a distant customer. He doesn't have to be from your city, from your state, from your country. He could be from anywhere. She could be from anywhere. That's a good opportunity. You must be accessed easily because you're looking at distant customers. You must be easily accessible. Expand to online if you are not. The world is already talking about health passports. We are into discussions at a global level and we are being talked to about COVID passports. Now they are under plans. What they are, well, it's not too long before you would know about it. So we need to do, in this pause time, focus on sustainability. What are these sustainability approaches? Less staff, but more skilled and more focused. So we don't need numbers of staff. We need quality staff. And this is the pause time for us to iron this out. Whoever we want to retain, let us upskill them because they've got to be more focused. They must reach out. It is said, and I believe this very strongly, it is also my projection that a lot of employment in the world, because people have started using work from home concepts, the employment will change from time-based to productivity-based. What does it mean? Someone is getting paid to be working with you from 9 to 5. That will go away. They will get paid for the productivity that they do, for the service that they do for you. So this is an important transition. So in this pause period, identify how you can offer your staff the incentive to work more, earn more for the staff and earn more for the company, rather than continuing with a liability of making someone to work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 and paying an amount despite there being no business. No credits, please. It's time that we learn our lessons. You can't afford credits in the post-COVID-19 area. No organization can afford bad debts. Please stop this. Share airline passenger liability publicly. We are telling this out to all our associations. The airline passenger liability is something that must be conveyed. It is not the responsibility of a travel agent. If an airline is not taking off, or if the airline cannot pay back to the customer. So this awareness does not exist universally to all customers, all passengers, and we need to publicize this. Now, what matters is your USP, unique selling proposition. Unique will matter. So it's time, with so many travel agents, so many tour operators across the world, what are your USPs? How are you different from the other organizations very similar to you? What else can you do in this pause time? Planning for post-COVID-19. CCC, comprehensive customer care, the big draw towards sustainability. This is very important. Connect with the customer. How can you know more than your customer? I talked about it briefly. Customers too have time and other challenges. Remember, post-COVID-19, they are going to be busy. They will be putting back their own organizations. Turnkey your delivery. Whatever you're doing, give it as a turnkey in all the ways you can and charge for it. Remember, when you ask more, people are going to ask you, why are you charging me more? Well, you'll have to prove your value. That seems to be the only way forward. Otherwise, let's quit being a travel agent and let's do other things. Because if you want to be in this industry, you want to continue to lead in this industry, then there must be an element of specialization in you. Don't you forget that old proverb, if knowledge is expensive, try ignorance. It's free. So if people want knowledge, they have to pay for it. Ignorance, of course, comes free. It's transition time, my dear friends. When you talk about our way forward, it's transition time. Be quick at transition. First mover advantage. If you are ahead of the others, because this is planning time, you will be the one who would take advantage of the situation. Multiply your communication. Not only multiply your communication, expand your connects. Let your network also multiply. Visibility on a social platform in a big way is all about expanding your connect. Be ready to access resources. And I can tell this to you with confidence. What our industry never saw before, or just started seeing a few months before, you will see that happen a lot. Because a lot of our principals are cash crunch, are looking forward to cash infusion. So there will be cash discounts or prepaid incentives. Prepaid incentives are that you pay ahead for the ticket you give, like what we do in some of our domestic low-cost carriers. Well, there'll be more such changes that will happen, and you need to be ready for them. For all associations, for travel agents, for tour operators, I must say we must all remain united. It's now, which is the most important time for us to get ready, to think together, to work together, to act together. We need an aggressive liaison with governments. We need to start campaigns. We need a much harder push with IATA on financial securities. There has to be a two-way 100% fulfillment. If an agent defaults, no way that the agent can default. The securities must cover the quantum of default an agency can do. Well, the same thing it must be for the airlines. Otherwise, our governments shall not give airlines that option to collect monies from their citizens. So we need to make this a global campaign, starting from India, starting from every country. This two-way fulfillment, that an agent has to be 100% financially secured in order to make sure payments are done to airlines, and vice versa. Airlines must be 100%. It's not 90%. It's not 95%. It's not 85%. It's 100% secure towards the money they charge from the passengers. How this has to be done, to what extent governments need to get involved, to what extent associations need to get involved, depends on what each country comes up with. But this is very important because we can't risk losing out, because after COVID-19, there could be something else. In our own country, we had one airline, a major airline that had closed down. You all know which airline I'm referring to. Even today, 1 year later, there are so many of us who say, I haven't got my refunds. This cannot happen, my dear friends. We've lost all our spare resources. Every one of us is in the red and we can't risk losing out. So this is an important activity for associations, for governments, and for all of us to work together and focus on this important issue. IATA has been very quick. IATA section in thematic, there's a thematic part of the IATA website, which gives us information about restrictions on travel to each of the countries. IATA has added a section in thematic on country restrictions during COVID-19. Status of countries for air traffic movements. A ready reckoner. UFTAA shared this yesterday to all our associations. Well, I think this is a good guide for you in these transition times to appreciate and understand which country has what restrictions on travel. So it would be a good education for all of us. Post COVID-19, my dear friends, it's a different challenge. And the only way you can encounter this challenge is through new approaches. You and I, all of us, need new approaches. I can recall Albert Einstein, who said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Let's not be insane to believe that what practices we had followed 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, will earn us the same level of success. It's a different world that is evolving ahead of us, particularly because it is fueled by the impact of COVID-19. My dear friends, let us look at doing things differently. It is important that you and I sustain, succeed, and overcome the challenge. Let us awaken from adversity. Let us turn different. Times are tough. People can be tougher. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure sharing your thoughts with you. And let's remain connected via the email or my WhatsApp. And both of them are given here for your reference. Do remember that UFTAA as an organization would be delighted to be associated in all such learning initiatives that we can implement for our members, for stakeholders, and UFTAA would be ever ready to undertake these challenges. God bless, wish you safety and wish you a lot of success in the future. Most important, wish you sustainability, and let us all pray the travel and tourism industry very quickly will turn out to be a very robust and a very advanced economy for this world as we move forward beyond COVID-19. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Sunilji. Thank you very much. It was such a learning experience. Thank you so much.
Now, 55 minutes हुआ भाई.